Daniel Whitmore had built his empire on logic, discipline, and ruthless focus. But the moment he stepped back into his mansion that afternoon, nothing made sense anymore. He had forgotten his laptop, that was all. A simple mistake, a 5-minute inconvenience. But what he saw through the half-open living room door stopped his heart. His 7-year-old son, Noah, was sitting on the cold marble floor crying. And beside him, on her knees, holding him as if he were her own child, was the housemaid Grace. Daniel wasn't supposed to be home. He had left for an emergency meeting in New York that morning, but halfway to the airport, he realized the presentation files were only on his personal laptop. Frustrated, he turned the car around. He never imagined that decision would change his life forever. From the hallway, Daniel could hear Noah's trembling voice. "Please don't tell Daddy. He'll be disappointed again." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. "Disappointed?" Grace's voice was soft but firm. "Your father loves you more than anything, Noah. He just doesn't always know how to show it." Daniel felt as if someone had struck him across the face. For years, he had convinced himself that providing everything, private schools, luxury vacations, the best doctors, was love. After his wife, Elizabeth, passed away 3 years ago from cancer, he buried himself in work. He believed success would protect his son from pain. Instead, it had created a different kind of loneliness. Noah had been struggling in school recently. His grades were slipping. Teachers said he seemed withdrawn. Daniel's response had been strict: more tutors, less screen time, higher expectations. He thought discipline would fix it. Now he realized he had never asked why. Inside the room, Noah sniffed. "I tried, Miss Grace, I really did. But when I look at the math problems, I just hear Daddy saying I'm not trying hard enough." Grace gently wiped his tears. "You are enough, Noah. Even if you fail a test, even if you make mistakes, you are enough." Daniel felt something inside him crack. He had never used those words. He stepped into the room quietly. Grace looked up first, her eyes widening in fear. "Sir, I thought you were." "In New York," Daniel finished, his voice unsteady. Noah turned around. His small face went pale. "Dad." The silence that followed was heavier than any boardroom negotiation Daniel had ever faced. Grace quickly stood. "I'm sorry, Mr. Whitmore. Noah was upset about his test results and I—" "You comforted him," Daniel said softly. She nodded nervously. Daniel looked at his son, really looked at him. The dark circles under his eyes, the tension in his small shoulders, the way he avoided eye contact. When had his little boy started looking so burdened? "Can you give us a moment, Grace?" Daniel asked gently. She hesitated, then left the room. Daniel slowly sat on the floor in front of Noah, ignoring the expensive suit he was wearing. "Is it true?" he asked quietly. "Are you afraid of disappointing me?" Noah's lip trembled. He tried to be brave. "You work so hard, Dad. I don't want to be a problem." That word shattered Daniel. A problem. After Elizabeth died, Daniel had promised her at the hospital bedside that he would take care of their son. He remembered her weak smile as she squeezed his hand. "Don't just give him the world," she had whispered. "Give him yourself." He had failed that promise. Tears welled in Daniel's eyes, something Noah had never seen before. "You are not a problem," Daniel said, his voice breaking. "You are my son, and I have been the one making mistakes." Noah looked confused. "You?" "Yes," Daniel nodded. "I thought being strong meant not showing feelings. I thought success meant I was being a good father, but I forgot that you needed me, not my money." The boy's tears returned, but this time they were different. Daniel pulled him into an embrace. It felt awkward at first, like a muscle he hadn't used in years, but then Noah wrapped his arms tightly around him. And in that moment, Daniel realized he had been the one starving for connection. But the challenges weren't over. The next week at school, Daniel requested a meeting with Noah's teacher, Mrs. Parker. She explained that Noah had been isolating himself, often staring out the window during class. Some children had started teasing him, calling him the robot millionaire's kid. Daniel felt guilt rise again. At home, he changed his schedule. He canceled 2 major business trips. His board of directors at Whitmore Technologies were shocked. Investors called, worried about his sudden shift in priorities. "You built this company with sacrifice," his partner, Jonathan Reed, reminded him. "You can't slow down now." But Daniel had learned something more important than profit margins. "I sacrificed the wrong things," Daniel replied. He began spending evenings helping Noah with homework, not correcting him harshly but learning with him. When Noah struggled, Daniel didn't criticize. He listened. Grace noticed the difference immediately. The house felt warmer. Laughter slowly replaced silence. But one night, another challenge emerged. Noah had a school presentation. He froze on stage, overwhelmed by anxiety. Some children giggled. Daniel, sitting in the audience, felt his old instinct rise, frustration, embarrassment. Instead, he stood up. He walked to the front of the room. "May I say something?" he asked the teacher. Mrs. Parker nodded. Daniel faced the class. "When I was your age, I was terrified of speaking in public. I failed my first presentation so badly that my classmates laughed at me." The children were surprised. This powerful businessman had failed. Daniel turned to Noah. "But failure isn't the end. It's part of growing, and I am proud of my son for standing here even if he feels scared." He placed a gentle hand on Noah's shoulder. "You don't have to be perfect," he whispered. "You just have to be you." Noah took a deep breath and finished his presentation. His voice shook, but he finished. That night, as they sat together on the couch, Noah leaned against him. "Dad." "Yes." "Are you still disappointed?" Daniel smiled, his heart full. "I have never been more proud." Months passed. The company didn't collapse. In fact, delegating more responsibility strengthened the leadership team. Daniel discovered that success didn't require his constant presence. It required trust. At home, Noah's grades improved, not because of pressure but because of confidence. He joined a small art club. He made friends. Grace, who had once been just an employee, became part of the family in a deeper way. Daniel thanked her one evening. "You reminded me how to be a father," he admitted. She smiled. "You just needed to remember." On the anniversary of Elizabeth's passing, Daniel took Noah to her favorite park. They sat beneath the old oak tree she loved. "I think Mom would be happy," Noah said softly. Daniel looked up at the sky. "I think so too." He had returned home that day for a laptop. But what he found was far more valuable: a painful truth, a second chance, and the understanding that wealth without presence is poverty of the heart. Life had tested them with grief, misunderstanding, pride, and fear. They overcame those challenges not with money, but with humility, communication, and love. Daniel learned that children do not measure love in dollars or achievements. They measure it in time, in patience, in words spoken gently, and in arms that hold them when they feel small. Sometimes the most important meetings are not in glass towers or boardrooms. Sometimes they are on a marble floor, beside a crying child. And sometimes, forgetting a laptop is exactly what it takes to remember what truly matters.